Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of The Blacklist. A great episode with a lot of stuff going down into it that we're going to have to discuss and break down. Obviously, a big part of it is obviously continuing the whole race between Liz and Reddington to get to this, to the duffel bag. And it's kind of interesting because the FBI does back her up on it, because it's just kind of like, no, like Reddington's willing to go through so much for this secret. It's like, nah, it's supposed to be, you're supposed to find this out, because everything, Tom sacrificed himself for it, Mr. Kaplan sacrificed herself for it. So it's like, no, we got to make this happen. So this whole thing comes down to chasing down Sutton. It seems like Sutton, like, basically he works for people. He steals like tech for people. It's kind of his big thing. I felt bad for Reddington because they were so close to catching up to him, because the FBI just kept being one step ahead of him. I even like that point when it's like, oh, when Sutton like was starting to get away, like Liz had crashed, and so Reddington stopped and turned back around and went to her. Like, obviously he handcuffed her, but obviously he did that after checking and making sure that she was okay, because he does care about her. And I love the whole situation. Even in her delirious state, she's like, I'm going to arrest you. He's like, you know, there's a difference between actually fishing and just standing around like looking like an idiot. So I thought I liked that thing. Also, really quickly, the whole John Waters thing was amazing. The moment he was like, wait a minute, I was like, is that John Waters being John Waters? I was like, that's so crazy. And then it just, you know, you have Reddington going on and on. It's like, oh my God, you're so fantastic and everything. And I love that John Waters is like, I know what your name is. It's something. Is it Rufus Reddington? Introduced it, Raymond Reddington. It's like, I knew it. I wish he didn't say anything. It's like, and he's just sitting there talking to Reddington about like coats and stuff like that, like because he's getting his stuff tailored. And he's like, oh, would this be a vest? He's like, no. And if I were you, John, I'd also go with a vest. He's like, what do you think? Vests are out? Oh, Dave's like, no. Vests never went on. So I'm like, this conversation is literally happening. That's never happened before. Has it? Like a celebrity coming into the show playing themselves? I just thought that was so good. I was like, what is happening? And I guess he knows Reddington's name, but maybe he doesn't 100% know who Reddington is. I even loved him being like, yeah, and people say that I'm weird. I just loved it. And even Reddington just kind of laughs it off, goes, ha ha ha. I was like, that's so good. But, yeah, I felt bad for Reddington because he was so close to getting Ross, but the FBI got to him first, so it kind of sucked. But Reddington gives himself over because they made that whole big escape. I'll go ahead and I'm talking all around everything anyway, but it's like, I knew that was fake from the beginning. You're like, Liz is in on it. It's like, there's too much. There's too much here. Like, the fact is, the whole air vent, like the whole them in the air vent things or whatever, it's like, why would she go along with that? He doesn't have any weapons. It's like, he doesn't have any weapons. There's no way. But it's that situation of, well, everyone was off kilter. Everyone was caught off guard. It was just, oh my God, he's got Liz. We got, like, no one's thinking straight. Not even Reddington's thinking straight, because he never thinks straight when Liz's life is in danger. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Even though he was saying, like, no, the dude's not going to kill Liz, there was still some part in the back of his mind that was still worried about it. I'm also skipping over the fact I thought was so interesting is that he gave Harold the ultimatum. It's like, literally hand me over Ross so I can get the duffel bag, or this whole Blacklist situation is over, which even Harold wasn't willing to cave no matter what the ultimatum was, because he knows how important this is for Liz. Liz needs to know, and he's not going to betray her trust for this. And also it's because it's like, we're not going to cater to you. Like, we do that too often. It's like, I mean, Harold's one of the few people that'll kind of let Reddington slide with some of the stuff that he does, but at the same time, it's like, no, like, when it comes to it, Harold will put his foot down, which I'm sure Reddington admires on some occasions, and other occasions, you know, he downright hates it. It's like, oh, you pick this time to decide to kind of push her way to ground. It's like, I admire that about Harold, but come on, this isn't the time for that, you know? But it's like, a lot of that stuff about that escape and everything didn't make sense. Like, they wanted to be alone. I was like, he told her the truth, didn't he? And now she's helping him. Like, even her apologies, and she's like, oh, I shouldn't have never. It's like, no. It's like, I get the moment that solidified it in my mind. It's like, this is fake. It has to be, because it's like, there's no way. Liz is too stubborn. She's too stubborn and set in her ways to ever back down like that and apologize. Like, oh, it's not my sin. It's like, no. Typically, Liz will be like, no, like, I don't care. Like, the fact of the matter is, this was what I was supposed to know, but she backed down like that. It's like, oh, Tom, Mr. Kaplan should have never bought. It's like, no, I knew that was BS the moment it started coming out of her mouth, because I was like, there's no way she's going to back down that hard, because she's like Reddington. She's too damn stubborn, you know? So, turns out everything, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, like, Liz kind of breaks everything down at the end of the episode, but it's very interesting because it's like, Sutton, it seemed like he was in this because it's like, oh, Sutton blames Reddington for a deal that went sideways years ago and kind of made it so he basically had to go super underground and stuff like that, had to kind of go on his run. That's kind of why him and Garvey know each other. I was about to call him Harvey. Why him and Ian know each other, because he helped Sutton get away, kind of get off the radar and stuff like that. But it's like, oh, like, because even Dimbay's like, it's only a matter of time before your secret comes out. He's like, the reason why Sutton's after you is because he blames you for all that. And Reddington's like, I literally had nothing to do with that. It's like, it doesn't matter if you didn't. Sutton thinks you did. But it turns out, because of which kind of fit my, I was like, I was like, definitely then you're not the real Reddington then. Like, I was like, that has to be the whole point. Like, the reason why you're like, I had nothing to do with that, because the real Reddington has something to do with screwing him over, and you were just someone else entirely, which... Just the look on Liz's face and stuff like that. Like I said, it's that situation. I'm sure if Reddington looked at, if it was anyone else, he'd be able to see through it. But because it's Liz, he wasn't thinking straight. Like I said, even though he was saying like, oh no, there's no way that Sutton would actually hurt her or kill her. But there was still a part of his brain that's very overprotective. It's like, no. He might actually do it. I can't take the chance. You know, it's interesting because Cooper actually says something similar. He's like, this is actually your fault. This isn't Aram's fault for giving him the passcode. It's your fault because you put Liz in this situation. You always put her in danger. It's like funny. Literally the same conversation was made last season by Mr. Kaplan about this whole situation. It's just kind of funny how it kind of works out like that. It's kind of being repeated. It's like Liz wouldn't be in this situation if you've never came into your life. And Reddington was 3 steps away from saying the words, I am not. The moment he said, I was like, it's confirmed. I don't care what anyone says, it's confirmed. But I thought like, oh, maybe Liz didn't. Like, but it's like, nope, she heard. But she already knew ahead of time. In fact, she's actually been working with Jennifer. That's what this all was about. Sutton was given the suitcase, the duffel by Ian, so he could make sure that Jennifer got it so she can learn the truth. And now Liz learns the truth. But she played her role well. Poor Sutton. Poor bastard caught 2 bullets. He's like, I know the truth. Pow, pow. Which shouldn't be too much of a surprise. There was the dude that they were torturing before that Reddington went in and killed him. And Dimbay's like, he knew nothing about the suitcase, the duffel bag. But it's like, Reddington can't take any chances. And he sure as hell wasn't going to let Ross go. It's probably... I'm sure he probably would have found a way to kill Ross anyway. But Ross running his mouth like that made him even more so sure. I mean, because it's not... I mean, the fact is, that was super cold-blooded because he... Pow, pow, keeps walking, doesn't stop, doesn't lose a step, and it's like, wow. Which showed you just how serious Reddington is about this damn deal. Like, he will not let anyone know this secret. And just everyone else is just kind of left there like, what the hell were we supposed to, you know? So, that was crazy. So, it seems like in Liz's mind, it's like, nope, this guy, he's a phony. He killed my real dad, the real Raymond Reddington. And the fact of the matter is, I've got to like uncover this secret because so many people sacrificed their life. So many people died because of this secret. She was even saying if Jennifer had been found out at being a part of this whole deal, he would have killed her too. So, but that's when my brain goes, because I'm looking at it and like she says it's like because the DNA test says that he's not Raymond Reddington, that he's not her dad. Like my thought is still this, that she could be right, but I'm sure because it's like why else would he go through so much trouble for you? Like you are his real daughter. Once again, it comes back to that conversation I brought up in that particular podcast in the episode about Ian Garvey conclusion, as well as my thoughts and theories about it. It's like why would he keep an eye on you and not keep an eye on Jennifer? It's like with his resources and power, he could have easily tracked Jennifer down if he wanted to. At least I think so. And the fact is that he kept an eye on you his entire life made me think it's because you are legitimately his daughter. He may not be Raymond Reddington, but I think he is her biological dad. That's what I'm thinking. But if not, the case could be just like he cares about her because he knew, like maybe made a promise to her mom that he would look after her, and that's what this is all about. I mean, he even sits down with Liz's grandfather. Granted, Liz doesn't know that it's her grandfather because, like I said, in her mind, she's thinking he killed my dad. So, like, I have to find out who he is and why he's... It's like, no, he's not. He's like, I think the dude pretending to be Reddington is really your biological dad, and he can't let anyone know the truth because if people find out he's not really Reddington, like, he loses all credibility because by being Reddington, he's able to do what he's been able to do. He gained this criminal, like, persona and clout as a criminal because he had Reddington's name. If the people found out the truth, everyone out of the woods would come after him. At least the name Reddington, like the reason why he says it so much is because it opens doors for him. So I mean, obviously you could tell with this episode and stuff like that, and it's come up a lot over the course of the series. But I figure if people find out he's not really Reddington, that name alone keeps people away. Yes, it attracts some people, but it keeps a lot of the bad people away. And it probably would keep, but if people probably ever found out the truth about who he was, it probably even more people would come because they'd come to gobble up everything he's gained over the years. Because it's like, oh, we've been afraid of this guy. He might be this criminal person, but he's not the bad guy. He's not the guy that we think he is. That, because I'm sure he would even lose favor with the FBI, because for the FBI, it's like, we made the deal with Raymond Reddington, and if it comes out he's not really Reddington, then that probably deletes everything. That means he can't be near Liz. That once the truth comes out, the FBI will most likely arrest him. I mean, yes, the whole Blacklist situation exists. I mean, that might end up being like the final episode or into like the final season or whatever, might be like his name, his real name. Like, oh, like the FBI is chasing him down and it's like, oh, Reddington's real name, so that he could be one of the blacklisters. I mean, that'd be kind of neat if they did something like that. So it's definitely going to be interesting because obviously Liz doing what she did this episode, she set the whole thing up. So it's like if the team finds out about what she did, they're going to be pissed at her. Because let's not forget, she kind of liked it in before with the whole like, oh yeah, faked my death and everything like that. The team was kind of pissed about that. It took Samara a little while to kind of forgive her for that. But at the same time, it's like they understand, they know that this was all for those purposes, but it's like you had them scared to death because once again, you're lying to them. And that's something else I kind of brought up in another thoughts and theories about how very much like Reddington she's become. I mean, to be fair, she's obviously talking to Tom's ghost and everything, and she's kind of like, oh yeah, kind of learn a thing or two for him, like, because she's like, because Tom, used love as a way to blind people. Like obviously with Liz initially, he became the person that Liz would love. Being Tom, Keen was kind of something, he knew that was kind of the person that Liz would kind of fall for, that, would get her attention. So it's like she used that to kind of blind Reddington. His love and care for her kept him from seeing the truth. So it's definitely going to be interesting going forward. I'm very curious what's going to happen when Reddington finds out the truth. Obviously, Jennifer, like the way Jennifer's probably still going to stay out of hiding because she's not going to let in on that she knows, but maybe we'll find out, like she'll get close to him because it's like, oh, I'm actually curious about knowing who my father is now. So she probably might use that to her advantage, I mean, because she also use that as an excuse for her and Liz to be around each other a lot too. So, which obviously they're going to be working together. Like, I mean, are they the only ones in this together? I doubt. I mean, like I said, it could easily bring the FBI into it too, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be something Liz and Jennifer are going to handle this all on their own. And like I said, even Liz's grandfather is kind of like, yeah, you might be burning these bones, but the fact of the matter is she still knows you have a secret, and she's not going to give up, and even Reddington knows. But then there's a part of me that wonders, did Reddington figure the whole thing out in the end, that it was a lie? He probably knows that what she said at the end there might have been what she said then, but it's not what she 100% believes. So he knows that it's not over, that she will keep digging. So he will be on his guard about it, but we'll see how much on guard he will be about it going forward. Like I said, it's just fascinating. A little while back, someone had suggested, I forgot what it was, but someone had left a comment on that particular video kind of referencing something I thought was kind of interesting. As the fact is, they're saying that Reddington is the spy that Cooper was talking about in that particular episode, and one that kind of focused on him this season. Like, wasn't that kind of already implied that Reddington was that same person? That certain spy he was talking about in an episode? Like, I thought that was kind of implied. Or maybe they were like, that's what I interpreted it as, but maybe they were referencing a different spy that they were talking about over the course. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's stuff that came up earlier season that kind of referenced this particular person that they were referencing to. So I'm curious myself to find out who Reddington really is in this whole situation. Like I said, my thought is that he legitimately is like her biological dad, and just like that Reddington isn't like, the dead Reddington isn't her real biological dad. He's Jennifer's real biological dad, would cause a problem later on. Because I'm curious what would happen then too. If it turns out that is the case, it's like, well, Reddington is really your dad, but then you'll find out like, oh, he killed Jennifer's dad. And I'm sure we probably see that next season, where we have them kind of like gaining, I mean, trusting each other and becoming, it's like, oh, we're half sisters and everything, so they're going to have each other's back. They're going to work together so closely on this situation. So, but maybe that news will kind of turn things around. 'Cause I'm curious to see, like, because it almost in a certain way, it almost kind of feels like they're setting Liz up potentially to be the main antagonist of next season. If you kind of really think about it like that, it's kind of interesting. I'm curious, like, will Reddington, like, I'm sure, because it's like he's still keeping her grandfather in the dark. Like, it's not like, oh, like she met her grandfather this season. She just didn't know he was her grandfather because she went to him asking him questions about her mom and everything. But I'm curious, like, will Reddington kind of set that aside and let her know about him, or at least like have them meet? I don't know. Maybe Reddington still feels like if Liz knows the truth, she'll start asking questions that he doesn't want her asking. So, like I said, I'm curious to find out, what went down. Like, was it that fire situation, like I keep thinking it was, that led to our fake Reddington pretending to be Reddington? Like I said, that memory from Liz's head where it's like, oh, the fire and everything. Like, is that the time when that happened, or did he kill Reddington at any other point in time? Like I said, because it's so interesting, because remember that memory last season Kate had, there was a much younger Kate meeting with Reddington. So the question is, like I said, did he get plastic surgery? I assume that's the way, or was a person we met last season, the one she was meeting, the younger person she was meeting last season, was that really this guy just adopting the name of Reddington? Was it, like I said, was this just about, like, were there other reasons why he killed Reddington, or was it over Liz's mom that it all happened? Like, so many different reasons. I'm so curious to see where this kind of all potentially will take us. Obviously, like, the Blacklist is coming back for another season, which I'm super excited about. But I'm curious to see, like, what exactly goes on, because it's so interesting when you take this season as a whole. It's like, well, what was the whole season about? It was like you had Liz and Reddington getting so close, and now you have them divided more so than ever. At least, on Liz's side of things, like, Reddington has no idea. So, I mean, that's kind of like the kind of sad aspect, there's also the whole, let's not forget about the good news that Samara woke up. So that's awesome. And I love her being like, yes. And he was like, what are you, because there was a part of me that was kind of scared. I was like, the fact of the matter is, I hope it's not a situation where it's like, oh, like she might not know who he is. I mean, she was reaching her hand out, but I was still kind of like, oh, don't tell me. I was like, maybe she forgot something. Please don't let it be something like that. I was like, okay, no, she's good. She said yes. I'm like, what? And she's like, yes, I would marry her. I'm like, yeah. Because I love that the entire episode he kept getting fussed out by the doctors and nurses because, being who he is, he's trying to research everything, but it's like, you have no medical background, so stop telling the doctors and nurses what to do. Obviously, you're concerned about the woman you love. That's great and all, but it's like, get the hell out their way and let them do their job. So, like I said, overall, a great season finale, and I'm so interested to see what they do with season 6. The subterfuge is going to get extremely crazy next season. Like I said, I'm also curious to see what other blacklisters we come across, and whether, like I said, also whether or not the FBI ever gets pulled into this whole situation. I feel like Liz is only going to bring them in unless she desperately needs their help, or she's closing in on something. Like, she might be kind of like, oh yeah, helping with a blacklister, while also that blacklist situation could also potentially help her with this whole Reddington thing. I'm curious to see what his demeanor is going to be like next season. Like, knowing that Liz will be looking for the secret, but not knowing how much she already knows. Like, he knows she's tiptoeing in that direction. He doesn't know she's actually taking huge steps rather than just tiptoes in that direction. So it's going to be interesting to see what that all entails next season. It's because it's kind of interesting, right, really quickly. It's the fact is, because Liz was fueled by anger. That's her main motivation for going after Garvey as hard as she did. Now kind of all that anger is now focused on Reddington. And we've seen what kind of happens when that kind of drives Liz. It's kind of interesting because it's like, going forward, like, that's kind of been the only thing pushing her forward to see. Also, let's not forget there's that whole other section of it too, like her I always keep forgetting her therapist's name. There's still that side story. I'm curious to see where the hell that goes. I mean, because Liz can always call in a favor, and I'm curious to see what form that's going to take on, like whether we'll see her go, like I said, more vigilante next season or something like that. It seemed like that was the direction, but they never really did. After that episode, they never really went further with that after her kind of getting her job back at the FBI. But I'm curious to see how they play that into the next season. Like I said, it's definitely, you see Liz change more and more, and Reddington, quote unquote Reddington, can't blame anybody but himself for her becoming more and more like this because of him entering her life. So like I said, I'm so excited to find out some of these answers next season and see what it all has in store for us waiting, so. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good